3, 2, 1.
No, just let it go. Let it go. This is the start of this episode.
Great.
Do we have the intro music?
No, that's what didn't get hit.
Oh, hit it now. There truly could not be a more perfect start to this episode. I'm telling you, the lesser podcasts that you waste your time listening to are not living a real life like you are. I am living a real life like you are. Caitlin is living a real life like you are. This podcast came so very close to not happening because we are busy women. We tried to do it Saturday. I think we even looked at Friday. Monday didn't work. Caitlin had something come up. So this is now Tuesday night, mere hours before this episode will be published. Very timely episode. And I'm under a time crunch because I did have a commitment this evening that sort of conflicted with the podcast. Tonight is the draft for Lino Ruli's Fantasy Football League. I have had intensive therapy. I have done somatic experiencing to get past the fact that I missed the playoffs in his league by 0.3 points last year. 0.3. It might have even been 0.03, but it was there 0.3 points. So we have to take this seriously. There's a live Zoom call with everyone on it. So this is going to be a shorter episode because I have to be ready for that fantasy football draft. Okay. So I am coming to Nashville, Atlanta, Salt Lake City, Casper, Wyoming, and Greely, Colorado. So get your tickets soon. These are all my September shows. I'm going to other places. You can get the full ticket list and get your cities, see what other cities I'm going to, and get your tickets at the link in the show notes, or just go directly to jfcomedytour.com. And I've said before, and I'll say it again, if you are in Casper, if you could just bring like 100 friends to the show, I would appreciate it, because I think that Fulwiler Nation is building in Casper, Wyoming, and filling a theater in Wyoming. It's a little daunting. It's honestly a little daunting. So just bring 100 friends. If you're an introvert, stop being an introvert. Meet some friends to bring to my show, because this might be a private event. This might be a real VIP situation, like me and two people in a theater in Casper. Caitlin, are these lights in the background? Are they moving? Are our background lights changing color?
Yeah, they sure are.
Well, we're hitting the tangent alert button early in the show. I haven't even told you what the main topic is yet, but okay. These lights that you will see on YouTube. You can click in the show notes and it will take you directly to this exact episode on YouTube. Okay, they're changing color. Yeah. They're changing color. Okay. This is symbolic. The lights are a metaphor for everything that this podcast is, everything that my life is, and everything that this day is. So for the Zoom call for fantasy football, I thought it would be kind of fun to make my studio look cool. Not at all out of like, I left SiriusXM and I'm a podcaster now, but I'm very successful. No, not at all. Just because I used to be a colleague of Lino Ruli's and his producer Tyler and a couple other people who are affiliated with the show. No, it wasn't vanity at all. That I just want to be. Look how successful I am. I have uplights in the background. But I wasn't going to do it for the podcast because it can mess up the YouTube lighting. It's kind of a long story. But I couldn't find the remote because my house and my studio are as much of a disaster as my mind is. This studio really is a reflection of what it is like to be inside my brain. There is some really creative cropping going on for YouTube. If we zoomed out 1 inch, it would be just piles of, guys, I'm not kidding. Look at this. Look at this. This is trash from this is a bag of trash. Do you see? This is a bag of trash that is sitting next to my chair and has been for a couple of weeks because I can't deal with anything because I'm so busy because there's all this stuff going on with the kids and all this stuff going on in my career. Okay, so, but I wanted the uplights. But we have 5 remotes
At
for
least.
these. Oh, and Caitlin just walked in the door. But Caitlin, if you see one, would you tell me? We'll get. Caitlin doesn't know the story. I couldn't find any one of the 5 remotes because my life is chaos and my physical space is chaos. I'm not living the magic art of tidying up. I haven't taken each item in this room and had an interview with it about the value it adds to my life and asked myself if it sparked joy. Hey, Marie Kondo, yeah, stuff would spark joy if I could find it. I can't even find my stuff to ask it I just have trash here. Like, I don't know where my actual stuff is. This doesn't spark joy. There's probably some stuff in here that sparks joy. I can't find it. So we can't find the remotes to the lights, but I did want them on. Now my son, okay, now we have dogs barking. This is good. It's so on brand because Caitlin brought her dog and we have a dog. So my son, the one who does the trench wars and all that, he has some sort of master remote thing that he definitely has not used to hack anyone's devices ever, but it can connect with devices. And he said, I might be able to turn on the lights. And so I didn't think it would work. So I was like, have at it. Well, he's a genius. He got them on, but I was busy getting ready. I wasn't around. And so he just texted me and I was like, oh, great. Now I've lost him to the 4 winds. He's playing with Caitlin's kids now. But Caitlin and I are not in possession of a remote to turn these lights off. So pull this episode up on YouTube and just episode 268 here on YouTube, just know that I don't really like the constantly changing light colors in the background, but that's how it has to be because I can't find any of my remotes. My genius child turned on the lights, but now he's off playing somewhere. So we're stuck with this. And welcome to the Jen Fulwiler show. I'm going to skip the intro to save time because I have a shortened amount of time because I have to do my draft picks for Leno's League. I will say this episode is kind of a litmus test. If you if you can handle this level of chaos, this podcast is for you. We have a bunch of great stuff on Patreon. The Village Hustle episode, that's the 2nd tier Patreon. The Village Hustle episode, I was talking about the power of the alter ego effect, where when I have to do hard things, which for you guys are probably normal things, I just pretend that I am someone else. I'm not even kidding. I pretend like I am an actor playing a role. Or even better, like I'll pretend like I'm an instructor or something. Anyway, that's the kind of thing I talk about on the Village Hustle Patreon. And who wouldn't want to take advice from me on Patreon? Obviously, I have my life together. So there you go. Patreon.com/thisisjen. And that link is also in the show notes. Okay, I'm only going to do 2 topics today because we are short on time. One is, I'll set them both up and then I'll get into them. One is there's a viral news story that just a couple of years ago, car companies started using anatomically correct female crash test dummies. So this is going around. And a lot of people are saying, this is how little society values women. It's so sexist and it's just proof of sexism. So I have some takes on that. The second one is I have been thinking about covering this for a while. There have been 6 or 7 episodes where I thought about covering this and I thought, I don't know. I don't know if I want to do that one, but I'm going to now. It is very surprising how many of our friends from the Catholic ghetto, and I do specify the ghetto, that people who are real Catholic super fans, I mean, really into it, how many of them flamed out. I mean, in a really a pretty big way. And what made me realize, I think I will go ahead and talk about this is I think this is more widespread than just my group of friends. The reason I had decided not to talk about it is because, as we have discussed before, I'm friends with crazy people. This is something. Oh wait, I meant to prep this. I'll just read it. I actually asked ChatGPT why I tend to be friends with people who are just kind of crazy.
Same.
Yeah. And I'm glad we're not crazy, Caitlin.
Yeah,
it's just that we like to be friends. Let's see. I'll do an image search. Yeah. Okay. I asked ChatGPT, why is everyone I'm friends with, like, they just constantly make the most insane decisions. ChatGPT says, and this is so spot on. It says, you're driven by narrative, not norms. You don't care if someone ticks the respectable adult boxes. You care if their life is cinematic. Bad decision makers are often excellent scene makers. They say dramatic things. They confess without filters. They fall in love recklessly. They ruin Thanksgiving with panache.
What is that?
Man, panache is like being fabulous.
Oh, okay.
I ruined Thanksgiving by showing up in a feather boa and throwing glitter everywhere. That is the most accurate. That's when I was like, okay, the robots are in my brain at this point, because that is really accurate. So, I'm friends with crazy people. So I thought this is probably just me, that a lot of my friends from the Catholic ghetto they're not just not Catholic anymore. They're thems now. I mean, it's like they're gone. It's just a whole thing. But then this is the part I should not admit that this is how the subject came to my mind. I really should have found a different way to, ease into this topic, but I guess I'll just go ahead and admit it. I was in procrastination paralysis, and I was trying not to mindlessly scroll social media. That was a mistake. I should have just mindlessly scrolled social media. Instead, I thought, I want to see who of my friends and acquaintances has unfollowed me on Instagram. And you can't install those apps because your account will get dinged. And so, you guys, this is so, I'm a grown woman. I am a grown woman doing this. Like, I have kids. I mean, I pay taxes and stuff, and I'm doing this. I pulled up my list of follows. You can sort it by date. And so I went back to the beginning, and that's when I was deep in the Catholic ghetto. I've been on Instagram for more than a decade. I was very, very deep in the Catholic ghetto when I first got on Instagram. So all of the people I followed first are from that era. So I would, by hand, I looked at all these people to see if they still followed me. Listen, I will get treatment. I really will. I'll find some hippie to help me work through whatever trauma has stunted my maturity as a grown woman. But this was interesting. A bunch of those people not only unfollowed me, but they unfollowed God. They're way off. I mean, they're like the blue hair. You can have blue hair and be a Catholic, but this is like blue hair with a certain, like shaved heads. I mean, like they're and like some of them have ex-Catholic in their bio, and I was surprised by how many of them there were, and I was thinking, This is one of the women who used to shame me. And I remember, because my mind, oh man, my mind is, it's a steel trap for people who have insulted me. And I'll be like, no, I remember this really well. It was November. It was the second week of November in 2009. She left a comment on my blog that said, but some of these people really did accuse me of not being Catholic enough. And so it's really weird to see that their pronouns are they, them, and they're like ex-Catholic. I'm I'm in a polyamorous relationship. I'm like, this is wild that you used to judge me for not being whatever you're supposed to be doing, wearing aprons and baking sourdough bread or whatever. And now, whoa, like you're a they, them polyamorous person. Wow. Okay. So, I have some theories. As someone, I know quite a few people who have gone, not only they are no longer trad Catholics, but they're ayahuasca shamans, they're like all the way. So, and if any of my friends happen to hear this podcast and are like, Jen, why are you talking about our family on your podcast? No, I'm not kidding. Off the top of my head, I could name 7 families who we know who have very much not in this world anymore, and to pretty extreme degrees. So I'm really not thinking of any one particular family here. I'm commenting on the phenomenon. And for those of you who are not in the Catholic ghetto, the reason I think this is worth commenting on is I think this is something that can happen to any people who use an identity group to work out trauma. Frankly, you see this a lot, like in the vegan community, that people are all in on vegan, and they are the ones secretly filming people that, oh, look at them, they're a vegan influencer, and I saw them look at an egg. They're like all in. And then next thing you know, you check their page and they're on the carnivore diet. It's so this can really happen with any identity group, with politics, with any kind of lifestyle and identity group. It is a way that it can kind of lure people in who use this identity group to work out their trauma in certain ways. And frankly, I think more than a few of us are susceptible to it. I think that I was a little bit susceptible to that, and I think we're all lucky that I'm still Catholic. I need some special some special credit there, because I definitely, when I was first in the Catholic ghetto, I do think there was an element of using my religion as a way to work out trauma, which doesn't mean it wasn't true. But I did have some trauma, and I manipulated my faith and my relationship with God and my relationship with my faith in a way to work out my undiscovered and unresolved trauma. So that is all the setup. That is the main topic. We'll get to that in a minute. Wow, these colors, they're just going to keep going, aren't they? Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, can you see it to the naked eye, or is it? Oh yeah, you can. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Wow. Wow. All right. So follow my YouTube channel, subscribe to my YouTube channel. For those of you who aren't chronically online, subscribe doesn't mean you pay anything. That's just YouTube's word for follow. So go follow my YouTube channel. Okay. Pull up that tweet, the crash test dummy one. This is a big meme. No, not that one. Okay. So, this is a big thing that you hear people talk about, and this particular story is going viral. Cindy Eckhart X's, I'm going to say tweet, Flowers by Miley Cyrus is older than the first use of an anatomically correct female crash test dummy. Okay, so this is often used to bolster the argument that society doesn't care about women and it's sexist and women are super oppressed, and that's just yet another example. And I saw some comedian friends were posting it, and they're very distressed about it. This really keeps them up at night. They're very distressed about just the enormous amount of sexism that is out there, and it's just wearing them down. It's very difficult. First of all, they did start to have, they were a little late on female crash test dummies, but there were female crash test dummies starting around 2000, later than it should have been. So when they say anatomically correct, I mean, what what do you guys want? I mean, all right, this is a PG-13 podcast, so we'll skip that. I'm just saying there were female crash test dummies for a lot of, what will make you guys happy? Okay, but I guess they had like uteri or something. I don't know. Here's what, it's very important to me that we in this community, we village people, we listeners of this show, not accept ideas about sexism. One, because a lot of them are wrong, and two, because it causes you a lot of stress. I'm telling you, my female comedian friends, they're very upset about this. This is something that they walk around with this weight on their shoulders about how society just dislikes them so much and constantly wants bad things for them. And the problem is, I think they're identifying all the wrong things as the causes for their pain. I would agree that society has some horrible ideas that negatively impact women, but I don't think it's the ones that they think it is. So going back to the female crash test dummy, here's the point that I want everyone to remember, especially my female listeners. Next time you see these kinds of memes going around that they didn't do female crash test dummies because people hate women. I mean, I don't know, maybe, I guess I could be wrong, but I would like to posit that there could be another reason that is not only not sexist, but it is complimentary of women. It is a good thing for women. And I think it's very important to hear this perspective, because right now the only voices that are out there are, on the one hand, it's this, can you believe they don't care about women, so they don't make anatomically correct female crash test dummies? Or on the other hand, when you have people who stand up for true femininity, or they reject modern secular feminism, a lot of times it's weird Protestants, and they're super weird. They're like, well, if women wouldn't be of the world and drive, then we wouldn't have this problem. So it's really hard to find reasonable voices on this. Here's the thing to keep in mind when you hear these kind of modern feminist messages. I think that a lot of, maybe not all, but a lot of the cases where we see women not involved in something that men were involved in comes down to the fact that historically, and I mean for really all of human history, men have been seen as expendable. Men have always been seen as expendable. To put it very bluntly, in most times in human history, people did not really care when men died. And when you think about this, and when you let this sink in, and the fact that people don't care about seeing men get beat up or whatever, when you really let this sink in, it actually explains a lot of what is often attributed to sexism. I think the crash test dummies are that people have a visceral, like, I don't want to see, a depiction of a woman get all mangled in a car accident. I think it was that. I think that it psychologically bothered people to see a depiction of a woman get horrifically mangled in a car accident, but it didn't bother them. Yeah, some guy he can get, it just didn't bother them when it was a man. I've said before, working, for most of human history, having a quote unquote job, I mean, the economies weren't such that, first of all, there were a lot of jobs, and second of all, jobs were very dangerous, and leaving the house was tremendously dangerous. Guys, there was no electricity. If you were coming home in the evening, you were a target for highway bandits, for robbers, for people who were thinking about doing worse stuff than that. Men fell on that sword for women. Yes, I will take the horse into town, and I will go work at the blacksmith shop, and I will come home. And one of these days, some highway robber, like if I've just gotten paid back before direct deposit, when it was like you have a bag of gold, I might be killed one day, but I'm going to do that for you. And I do think there was a time in the 20th century when jobs did get more fun. There were just like kind of cool jobs after World War II, and society still held on to the ideas that jobs were for men. So I do think like in the 1950s and 60s, there was kind of a tough time where there was an economy that you could have a lot of cool jobs and women were kind of barred from them. And that sucks. And that was legit, not great. But I think it was an extension of the millennia old view that having a job is horrible and dangerous. I mean, Industrial Revolution, it's like no women were sitting around like, oh, I wish I could go work in the factory and get 7 different types of cancer working 18 hours a day for a boss who beats me with a stick if I try to leave 1 minute early. No women were like, I just want a career. So I do think that like in the 50s and 60s, as the economy changed, it was kind of a holdover from the millennia old view that men were kind of falling on that sword. Men were kind of doing women a favor by like going to work and putting themselves in that kind of grueling difficulty and danger. And then frankly, to take it back to my industry, I've said before, I think it's one of the reasons why people don't love seeing female stand-up comics. I'm very familiar with the sexes, there's sexism and whatever. And that's, I mean, there is some truth to that. There's some real weirdos in this industry who have a lot of issues with women. So that, yeah, I mean, it happens, but I think at the core is that stand-up comedy is about watching someone on stage kind of beat themselves up, that share just difficult things and embarrassing situations so that you, the audience, can work out your own inner tension by hearing about this guy being an idiot and having bad things happen to him and all that. And everyone knows that it's kind of interactive with the audience. So the audience could get very rude. They could be yelling vulgar things. And so I think that again, one of the reasons that people are generally uncomfortable with female stand-up comics is not sexism. It's that men are seen as more expendable. That if you're some big fat guy who walks on stage, honestly, nobody cares. If someone's yelling rude things at you, or they yell like, "Hey, fatso," like people just wouldn't really care. But if they did that to a woman, that would really bother people. So again, the impetus behind this discomfort with women in stand-up comedy is not sexism. It's that women are kind of cherished and protected, and people don't want to see them getting beat up. What started me on all of this is, so as you guys know, what I do in my free time is I read historical books and I listen to historical audiobooks, and it's like to an obsessive degree. I wish God could have given me an interest that was maybe a little more relatable. I have no Love Island hot takes. I don't have fun commentary on The Summer I Turned Pretty because I am reading about the Napoleonic Wars, and it's very bad for podcasting. I really wish I could have a different temperament. So I got a book. I think it's 42 hours to listen to it. And I have about 13 hours left. All summer, I've been listening to this book about Napoleon. He was a busy guy. There was a lot going on there. But one of the things that's interesting is this book is very historically detailed, as it should be for 40 whatever hours worth of content. So they give battle stats for all of these battles that Napoleon was in. And so they'll rattle out, yes, Napoleon had this thing going on in Italy, and 20,000 French were killed or injured. And then the Austrians, they lost 15,000. And then in Egypt, 38,000 men were killed or wounded, and then blah, blah, blah. And what made me think of this as a podcast topic is just yesterday, I'm driving around, I'm listening to this book, and the narrator says very unironically, he says, this or that battle, it was great for Napoleon. Hardly any casualties at all. Only 1,200 men died, and it was really great because it was just such a simple battle with such a small loss of life. And we move on, and I'm like, imagine if 1,200 men like died in one fell swoop in one place. And that was considered like nothing. That was a light day, not even worth really speaking of. This is what I mean when I say that men have historically been seen as expendable. Now, if 1,200 women had died, if someone had gone through a town and killed 1,200 women, that would be massive. That would be a big deal. People would care. They would be very up in arms about it. But I mean, when you read history at the level that I do, I constantly am deep in the life of Alexander or Caesar. It's like the most unrelatable thing for a woman in the world. Like everyone's like, "What's your Roman Empire?" It's the Roman Empire. I think about the Roman Empire all the time. I'm reading about Claudius right now, and so when you get deep into these subjects, you realize that all of world history is young men dying by the tens of thousands and nobody caring. That is, if an alien came down and said, summarize all of written history as we know it, I would say that. It's just like young men going to battle and thousands upon thousands of them dying. And everyone's like, yeah, that was fine. That was, no big deal. Totally cool. And I think this is why this might be at the root of some of the male frustration that is out there. And I don't know that they've really articulated this in their own minds, but I do think that men walk around with a sense that their lives are seen as more expendable than women's lives, and yet they get accused of actually the exact opposite, that society doesn't care about women or whatever. But let's face it, if you're on a ship that is going down, if you're on one of these ships, I just watched a poop cruise on Netflix. Okay, that is, I occasionally do relatable things. That was great. It just affirmed everything I have already thought about cruises. But yeah, if that cruise ship had started sinking, what is the first thing everyone says? Women and children first. I mean, and I think men understand on some deep gut level that, yeah, if stuff goes down, whatever room you're in right now, if something happens and lives are at stake, you as a man are expected to sacrifice your life and not the women. The women are not expected to do that. If there's a man and a woman in the room, men are expected to make the sacrifice. And that's a burden. That sucks in a way that, like, you could be one of, imagine if it's a young man you cared about was one of those 1,200 people killed. It's like literally nobody cared. It's just, yeah, it's a battle. Yeah, just a couple thousand guys died. It was totally fine. And I think men carry that weight. And I think that is probably part of the reason for some of that inner angst, that they know it's true that their lives are seen as expendable still to this day by society. We all know it's true because for all the feminist blathering that's out there, again, if you're on a ship that's going down, everybody knows that the men are going to be expected to sacrifice themselves for the women. And yet men have to hear all the time that they're overvalued. Everyone just cares about them. And I think it's probably this weight of like, wow, just really the exact opposite is true, actually. So all this is to say, I'm not saying that sexism never exists. Actually, we're going to get to this in just a minute. I know some real weirdo men. I'm telling you, some real pervs, man, these guys need therapy so badly. They, for some reason, Twitter has really learned how to rage bait me. Any trad with a bizarre opinion whose mother did not love him nearly enough, and now he has to go on and on about women on X. I don't mean he's on X, the drug. I mean like on the stupid named app. So I honestly, maybe they should try it. No, I'm kidding. We have children that listen to this show. I couldn't be worse, but okay, I'll stop. So idiots exist. I am not saying that sexism never exists. And I do think that, like with the crash test dummies, they should have had female crash test dummies sooner. I agree with that. They should have gotten over their hesitancy with that. And yes, they should have done it. my point is just, in the crash test dummy case, I don't think it was out of a dislike of women. In fact, I think it was out of an honoring of women, that no one is like, hey, you know how we see all those bodies that look really realistic, like mangled and dismembered and like their arms flying out the window? Let's get a woman in there. I think that there was this like, ugh, nobody wants to see that, you know? And I think that was the impetus behind it. So ladies, just remember, next time you hear about this, you know, something is being done in society that is supposedly that nobody values women at all and they hate us, just ask yourself, is this a case where the impetus behind this societal tradition or rule is that men have historically been seen as expendable, that men, we don't care that much. Unfortunately, we don't care that much about seeing men be downtrodden, beat up, killed, whatever. Society has always seen men as expendable. And is whatever the latest thing that the feminists are going on and on about, is there any chance that this societal rule comes from that and not deep-seated sexism? And again, there are cases where it's like, no, this is just a weird trad. This is just a guy who has a lot of problems and he is being sexist. And there are certainly societies that exist today where, no, there's just sexism. Like, they have issues with women. So I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but it's just very important to me that women generally, like all my podcast listeners, my 5 YouTube viewers, I just want you all to remember that men have historically been seen as expendable, and that is a burden for them. And some of our societal things that carry forward to this day are because of that, and not because of some dislike of women. Okay, where are we on time? Hang on. Let me see. Okay. Okay. Well, we'll be hitting the main topic somewhat quickly. Okay, here we go. Hit the main topic. We're just zooming through it. Sound effect. All right. One of my Patreon friends, Ellen Blumenthal, I think. Let's see. Ellen, I know your last name. What is it?
I think it's Bloomhart.
Bloomhart. Yes, I'm sorry, Ellen. You have heard what kind of a day it is. She started a Facebook group called Jen's Biker Gang for people who listen to this podcast who want to like meet like-minded people. It's a reference to me saying I need to shave my head and join the lesbian biker gang. Actually, a perfect segue into what I'm about to talk about. So I don't know how to find it on Facebook, but look it up. We'd put it in the show notes, but this episode is really coming together enough at the last minute anyway. So thank you, Ellen. Jen's Biker Gang is the Facebook group. I will promote it more properly in the future. Okay, so Catholics flaming out. And again, we're not just talking about Catholics. This is the phenomenon of when people are part of any identity group that they get into to an extreme degree, and then they end up flaming out. You see this in all circles. And when I say flaming out, I don't mean, if you're vegan and you're part of the serious, PETA vegan circles, I don't mean you're thinking, maybe I could occasionally have an ethically sourced egg. I mean, you are taking a bite out of a raw hunk of beef on your new carnivore page. Like, I mean, like flame out, like you go all the way the opposite direction. And again, from my, if you guys missed the beginning of the episode, I was just searching Instagram to see who I could pray for. I just wanted to know who was doing great so that I could encourage them. And that's how I came to, just by happenstance, see that there were some people who I used to follow who are now, ooh, boy, are they not Catholic. Just really going all the way a different direction. And like one's an astrologer now. And I mean, it's a lot. And this is, I am seeing a lot of this. And let me tell you this. This podcast in 5 years, I think, is going to be so good because enough time will have passed that I can, at least without naming names, tell you some of the stories of the Catholic flameouts of people that I have known personally. And I assure you that nothing Netflix has ever put on their platform is even close. But I can't even hint at it right now because it's a little too close. But so when I say I've seen some flameouts personally, I mean it's like it's pretty extreme. And so again, I saw it in my Instagram following list. And the reason I think it's worth talking about is because I think people with our personality type, a lot of, I know some listeners are like, do not lump me in with your craziness, but I think people who have certain types of personalities and unresolved trauma, it is easy for us to make this mistake, especially when it comes to our faith or our identity group. Again, the reason this is so kind of near and dear to my heart is when I look back, I saw myself making some of the same mistakes with my faith, and I'm very fortunate that I was not one of the flameouts because I wasn't setting myself up for success. And one of the things I want to note is that one of the things you see, especially in Catholic circles and in faith groups, is that the people who do not flame out, that they, even if they're crazy, they stay with their crazy view of Catholicism, they tend to have a pretty wide support network. Like their whole family is crazy Catholics. You know, all of their aunts and uncles and their 58 cousins and all of their siblings are super into it. And that anytime you have cultural cohesion, anytime you have that external pressure of the group identity, that's going to help people stay with that identity. But one of the reasons I think we need to give Jen a medal for still being totally Catholic, totally into it, is for those of us who don't have that support system. Like literally nobody would care if I decided tomorrow that I'm not Catholic, I'm a they them ayahuasca shaman. I'd actually, it's interesting, my kids would care, but like aside from that, I mean my husband would care, but it's not like I have super Catholic parents and siblings just there would be no, outside of obviously, let's forget my 5 YouTube viewers and all that, but just in my personal life, there would be no repercussions. Nobody would care if I stopped being Catholic. And so I think that those of us who are kind of, we're kind of alone in our faith journey, we're doing something different than our families have historically done, and we might have a community of friends, but again, we don't have like 7 siblings who are all devout Catholics and devout Catholic parents and aunts and uncles and all that. For those of us who don't have that, I think we are even more at risk for everything breaking down if we unintentionally start using our faith as a way to kind of work out our issues, work out our trauma, instead of connecting with it more authentically. Okay, I know that was a little bit of a mouthful. So let me give you a specific example quickly because I have this fantasy football draft. So, let's listen. I know I'm trying to keep people close to God here and not completely abandon the one true church and our Lord, but fantasy football draft. We do have to keep an eye on that as well. So I have spent a lot of time thinking about what went wrong when you go from some of these people I've known personally that there was a dinner party in... When was Fetty Wap really popular?
I have no idea.
Can you Google that? Because I remember we were playing Fetty Wap. It's okay. Well, maybe there were some issues with the Catholic. It was because, you know what it was is one of my Catholic friends was talking about how he lost an eye and he had a really hard time with just one eye, and so it's great that now he's making he's okay now, and so we were like, oh, we should pray for him, but it turns out his songs that were like, I literally do drugs, no, I'm not even kidding, I literally do, and here's how I make them, so it turns out he went to jail for that. Okay. When
2015
no, it was before that. Okay, I don't know why I asked because I'm rejecting that information. It was like 2012. Yeah, with the Lambo. Okay. Well, this is okay. We're back on track now. Sound effect. Only on this podcast can you go from how to the pitfalls of being an Orthodox Catholic to Fetty Wap. Okay, so we had a dinner party and there were 10 couples there, and most of them went to the Latin Mass or were at least like Latin Mass friendly. And for those of you who aren't in the Catholic ghetto, it's like very traditional Catholics. Like we like the tradition. We're not pick and choose Catholics. This isn't Build-A-Bear where it's like, well, I like this one Catholic teaching, but I think that God got it wrong actually with this other one. I think God needs my feedback on. So that's what I mean. When I say Catholic ghetto, when I say trad Catholic, when I say Latin Mass Catholic, I'm talking about the Catholics who believe the entire thing and are devoted to it and uphold it and all that. And this is a great thing. This is good. You should all be trad Catholic. Like you should all take the Catholic faith seriously, and like it's not Build-A-Bear. So I have no problem with that. That's not the problem. So this was our group of friends. All of us tended to be on, kind of the trad kind of things, side of things. And of those 10 couples, 6, I think 7 of them are like, they're gone. I mean, the divorced, by the caveat, the Catholic teaching is not against civil divorce. This is a common thing. But I'm only pointing that out, that it was, they once said that was, they were very trad, baking sourdough bread, all that sort of thing. So that was a big departure from there. No one saw that coming. But an extraordinary number of them divorced, and everyone's just like doing their own thing, and very much not Catholic, very much. And some of the Instagram people I was looking at, I mean, blue hair. Again, caveat, you can have blue hair if you're a Catholic, but everyone knows what I'm talking about. Like going to the women's march and wearing the pink hats and all that, and like donating to Planned Parenthood, that sort of thing. So what leads people? Well, one of them was talking about their recent ayahuasca trip on, ketamine. They did a ketamine trip, and they were talking about it on TikTok. And I was like, this is crazy that this person once talked my ear off about how they were haranguing their priest about not having enough respect for the most holy mass. And now they're on TikTok talking about their ketamine trip, and like they're wearing tie-dye. And okay. So anyway, I've thought a lot about this. And I think that what was going on with a lot of us is we found something good and true, like doing the Catholicism all in, not picking and choosing thing. This is good. This is the one true church. Our belief system is that it's guided by God. So that's nonsensical to be like, oh, well, it's guided by God, but God got these things wrong. So I disagree with him on that. Like, that's just nonsensical. So we found something good and true. But here's the thing. For those of us, and I think this is a lot of us, who have unresolved trauma and have difficulty feeling safe. And that is more of us than you realize. I did not realize that I have trouble feeling safe until like 10 years ago. I think a lot of us walk around without a feeling of base level safety and comfort in our own skin. Way more of us than you realize. If you'd asked me 15 years ago, do you feel safe? I'd be like, what are you talking about? I live in the suburbs. I drive a minivan. Yes, of course I'm safe. What are you talking about? But that just primal caveman level of being safe that comes from having certain things in childhood that a lot of us did not have, not because our parents were bad, but just because of the way society is now organized. A lot of us grew up without this visceral, deep feeling of safety. And it manifests itself in all sorts of different ways. This is why I'm so into Nicole Sachs' Journal Speak. You guys have got to read her book, Mind Your Body. You've got to read her book. Because she goes, it's about getting out all of these suppressed feelings and things that lead us to these feelings of lack of safety. So for those of us who have this just kind of unconscious, undiscovered feeling of a lack of safety, subconsciously, we will be driven to find ways to give ourselves that feeling. Now, let me give you a specific example, because I know this is kind of out there. So the way I misused my faith at one point when I was in these circles is I took something, again, that is good and true, the idea of fully believing in Catholicism and realizing that these quote unquote rules matter. Like there are, God has laid out an instruction manual for how we should be living, and it matters whether or not you follow that instruction manual. All good, all true. But here's the thing. When you are adhering to that out of trauma and a desperation to feel safe, what happens is the drive behind following these rules is not love. The drive behind following these rules is not getting closer to God, is not having a childlike curiosity of, oh, that's great. God has given us all these ways that we can live, and this will help us flourish as people and be able to connect with other people. It's not that. It is this feeling of, if I follow the rules correctly, I will be okay. If I follow the rules correctly, I will be safe. And when I put myself in the mind of Jen from 2009, 2010, 2011, that was very much going on with me. I believe, everything the Catholic Church teaches, still do. But the drive behind my adherence to the Catholic lifestyle was a desire to feel safe. The driving force behind my acts of faith and devotion was a desire to feel safe. And that can lead you to kind of a manic adherence to your faith. So then what happens is, let's say you have a falling out with someone at church. Let's say someone who is Catholic is rude to you, or you get rejected from a group at your church, or just something not catastrophic, but just bad happens. You get uninvited from the homeschool group or whatever. Suddenly you don't feel safe anymore. And that, unbeknownst to you, that was like your whole drive of why you're like, I follow all these rules, and I let it be known that I follow all these rules, and I'm the perfect Catholic, and I'm focused on my vocation, and I'm doing the right things, and I'm making sure everyone knows, so that everyone knows what a good Catholic I am. When you're acting that way and trying to feel safe, and then something happens that suddenly makes you feel unsafe. Again, people at church were rude to you, or you have a falling out with your priest, or whatever. Suddenly the whole set of dominoes can fall. The whole deck of cards can fall, especially for those of us who don't have much of a support system in this faith. We're like the lone wolf. We're like last man standing of being Catholic, and literally nobody would care in our neighborhoods and in our friend groups if we stop being Catholic. So you don't even have that social support of like, oh, I don't know, why don't you work it out instead of being a polyamorous they, them? It's like no one is there to encourage us to work through our issues and reconnect with faith in a different way. And I mean, the overarching point here is that I have to come up with a list of wide receivers very quickly for this draft. So this is very me, that I'm like, let's take one of the most sensitive and delicate topics to my particular listenership. Let's tackle that when I have a hard stop and I'm very short on time. Let's do that. Okay, guys, I really have to go, actually, because I don't even... ChatGPT says that I should be focused on running backs for this league, and I just have not. I did actually look at wide receivers, but not. I have not taken my running back game seriously enough. So listen, let me just. We'll follow up with this in another episode. Here's the bottom line. if you find that your choices, if you find that the labels you put on yourself, such as I am a Catholic, or I am a homeschooler, or I'm a Proverbs 31 woman, whatever it is that you're labeling yourself as, if you find that there's kind of some fear behind that, meaning I constantly have to prove to myself that I'm a good homeschooler. Okay, good. And I follow these rules. Okay, now we're good. This means I'm good. This means I'm okay. Or I checked all of these boxes. So now I'm a good Catholic. I'm a good Catholic. We read this book and we did this book and now I'm good. We prayed a rosary. I think it was 3 times last week. And so I'm a good Catholic. When you find that you are clinging kind of desperately to these identity groups, and there's a lot going on in your mind about, am I good? Am I bad? Am I good? Am I bad? You're probably doing that out of trauma that you don't even know that you have. You're probably doing it out of trauma that you don't even know that you have. Because when you think about people who have a very intimate, very natural relationship with God, like some of the saints or just saintly people, yeah, they follow the rules. Yeah, they believe everything that Catholics are into, but it is in this very organic, natural, loving spirit. It is not a constant assessment in their mind. Am I good? Am I bad? Am I good? No, I'm good. I did the things, so I'm good. No, it's just like I'm thinking of someone very, very saintly from my parish, that just the most wonderful human being you could ever meet. And he just lights up when he talks about God. He's like, oh, let me tell you what Jesus has done in my life. Do you have a minute? I have got to tell you, man, he's so amazing. And I embrace this life and it's just so good. And there's so much goodness. People like that is a healthy relationship. That is a love-based relationship. That is a trust-based relationship. And so I'm telling you all to really watch for your fear-based relationships. Like, I have to do this because I'm good. This makes me good. Because I just don't want any more people to unfollow me because they're polyamorous, they, them, ayahuasca shamans. I can't accept this. So you need to watch out for that. If you think that you are clinging to, whether it's your identity as a homeschooler, or frankly, as a stand-up comic. I mean, your identity as anything, homeschooler, Catholic, stand-up comic. If you are clinging to it because you so desperately need safety and you're so afraid of what it means if you don't have this identity and you're not doing it right, you need to go listen to Nicole Sachs' podcast and read her book. Mind Your Body. Read her book, Mind Your Body, because you are at risk for a flameout. You're at risk for a big flameout because any identity that is based on fear will never be able to stand. Okay, I've really got to figure out what's going on with these wide receivers. We're still doing the after party. We roll straight into the after party on Patreon. Kudos to me for choosing such an unbelievably controversial and sensitive subject when I'm on a tight timeline. We'll hit it again. I'll do a better job of explaining it in another episode. And we'll be back with you next week here on the Jen Fulwiler Show.